Before he became the prince of darkness, who was the devil? Was he always evil, or something far more divine? In this video, we journey back through ancient texts, lost mythologies, and forgotten lore to uncover the mysterious origins of the devil. From fallen angels to ancient gods rebranded as evil, the story is deeper and older than you think. So grab your curiosity and maybe a little courage as we ask the chilling question, what was the devil before the devil? Let's dive into the shadows of history. What was the devil before the devil? The concept of the devil as an evil supernatural being opposing a divine good has become one of the most iconic figures in theology, literature, and popular culture. But this familiar character, red-skinned, horned, pitchfork-wielding, and ruling over a fiery underworld, did not always exist in this form. In fact, the devil is known in modern Christianity, Islam, and some other religious traditions, is a relatively recent invention in the broad sweep of human belief systems. Before the devil became Satan, Lucifer, or Iblis, the archetype of a dark, trickster, or chaotic force took on many different forms in various mythologies and religions. So, what was the devil before the devil? To answer this question, we must examine how ideas of evil, chaos, and opposition to divine order developed in ancient cultures, how these ideas evolved in the Jewish and Christian traditions, and how they coalesced into the singular figure we now call the devil. This essay will trace that history across thousands of years of human thought, revealing that the devil is less a fixed being and more a reflection of shifting cultural, religious, and psychological needs. 1. The ancient roots. Chaos and opposition in myth. Long before monotheism took hold, ancient civilizations populated their mythologies with gods, spirits, and monsters that embodied both good and evil traits. There was not a strict binary of God versus devil, but rather a pantheon of deities with conflicting interests and powers. Mesopotamia, Tiamat, and chaos. In ancient Mesopotamian mythology, one of the earliest recorded cosmologies, the universe begins in chaos. Tiamat, a primordial goddess of the sea, represents this chaos. She is eventually defeated by the storm god Marduk, who creates the world from her body. Tiamat is not evil in a moral sense, but she represents a force of disorder and destruction, an early prototype of later chaotic or evil figures. Tiamat, and beings like her, prefigure the concept of the devil not as an independent being of evil, but as a symbol of opposition to divine or cosmic order. This dualism, order versus chaos, is more fundamental in early thought than good versus evil. Egypt, Set as the trickster and killer. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Set or Seth is the god of deserts, storms, and disorder. He murders his brother Osiris, an act that creates imbalance and sorrow. But Set is not entirely evil. In some versions of the mythology, he defends the sun god Ra against the serpent Apep, a true force of chaos. Set, like many early figures, embodies both destruction and protection. This dual role shows that early devil-like figures were morally ambiguous. They could be disruptive or violent, but not necessarily evil in a cosmic or theological sense. Zoroastrianism, the first true devil? The clearest precursor to the devil in Western religious thought may be Angra Mainyu, also called Ahriman, the evil spirit in Zoroastrianism, an ancient Persian religion founded by the prophet Zoroaster. Zoroastrianism introduces a more rigid dualism, a cosmic struggle between Ahura Mazda, the wise, good god, and Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit of chaos and lies. Unlike earlier chaotic gods or monsters, Angra Mainyu is an intentional force of evil, deceit, and destruction. He is not part of a morally mixed pantheon, but stands in direct opposition to goodness. This dualistic model deeply influenced later Jewish and Christian ideas of Satan as the enemy of God. 2. The Hebrew Bible, Satan is adversary, not devil. In the Hebrew Bible Old Testament, the figure of Satan begins to emerge, but he is not yet the devil as later imagined. The word Satan in Hebrew means accuser or adversary. It is a role, not a name. The book of Job, Satan the prosecutor. In Job 1-2, the Satan appears in the heavenly court, where he challenges the righteousness of Job, a devout man. He acts as a prosecutor, questioning Job's faith and suggesting that he will curse God if his blessings are removed. Importantly, this Satan is part of God's divine counsel, not an enemy of God. He receives permission from God to test Job. This depiction suggests that the earliest version of Satan in the Hebrew Bible is more like a celestial challenger than a fallen rebel or embodiment of evil. Other Old Testament references. In 1 Chronicles 21 verse 1, Satan is depicted as inciting David to conduct a census, which angers God. In Zechariah 3 verses 1-2, Satan again acts as an accuser, standing beside the high priest Joshua. These passages show an evolving understanding of Satan as a figure who brings temptation or accusation, but not yet as an independent enemy of God. There is no devil figure in early Judaism. Evil comes from human disobedience, divine punishment, or mysterious forces, not from a singular evil being. 3. The intertestamental period. Dualism and demonology. Between the Old and New Testaments, during the so-called Second Temple period, roughly 500 BCE to 70 CE, Jewish thought became increasingly influenced by Persian dualism and Hellenistic ideas. This period saw the development of apocalyptic literature, such as the Book of Enoch, which introduced complex hierarchies of angels and demons. The fall of the Watchers. The Book of Enoch elaborates on Genesis 6 verses 1-4, where sons of God mate with human women, creating giants, Nephilim. In Enoch, these watchers are rebellious angels who teach humanity forbidden knowledge. Their leader, often called Azazel or Shemahaza, becomes a prototype for later devils. This literature introduces the idea of fallen angels, a theme later Christians would use to build the story of Lucifer's fall from heaven. These narratives deepen the dualism between a good divine realm and a corrupt, rebellious underworld. 4. The New Testament. Satan becomes the devil. By the time of the New Testament, 1st century CE, Jewish thought had become more dualistic, and Satan begins to be portrayed as a powerful enemy of God and humanity. The temptation of Jesus. In Matthew 4 and Luke 4, Satan tempts Jesus in the wilderness, offering him power and testing his divinity. Here, Satan is not just an accuser, but a tempter, manipulator, and opposer of God's plan. Satan as a cosmic enemy. In books like Revelation, Satan becomes a cosmic dragon, Revelation 12, who leads a rebellion in heaven and is cast down to earth. He is described as the deceiver of the whole world and the enemy of the faithful. This portrayal marks the transition of Satan from a divine accuser to a personified evil, responsible for temptation, corruption, and spiritual warfare. The devil is now imagined as a fallen angel who seeks to undermine God's creation. 5. Christian theology, Lucifer, and the medieval devil. Over time, Christian theologians built a more elaborate mythology around the devil. Lucifer, the fallen angel. The association of the devil with Lucifer comes from a mistranslation of Isaiah 14 verse 12, which refers to a fallen Babylonian king using the metaphor of a morning star, Hebrew, Hello Ben Shakar. The Latin Vulgate translated this as Lucifer, and Christian thinkers later interpreted it as a reference to Satan. This led to the story that Satan was once a glorious angel who rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven, a narrative formalized by church fathers like Augustine and Gregory the Great. The devil in the Middle Ages. During the medieval period, The devil became central to Christian art, literature, and theology. He was blamed for heresy, temptation, witchcraft, and natural disasters. Hell became his domain, and exorcisms were used to drive out his influence. Satan was no longer just a spiritual symbol, but a real, active presence in the world, working against the church. This devil was the culmination of centuries of evolving ideas, combining chaos, temptation, rebellion, and moral evil. 6. Other traditions. The devil beyond Christianity. While Christianity has one of the most developed devil figures, similar concepts appear in other religions. Islam features Iblis, a jinn who refuses to bow to Adam and is cast out by God. He tempts humans, but is not omnipotent. Hinduism has Asuras and Rakshasas, powerful beings who oppose the gods but are part of a cosmic balance. Buddhism portrays Mara as a tempter who tries to distract the Buddha from enlightenment. These figures reinforce the idea that the devil is a universal archetype, representing spiritual resistance, ego, and the darker side of consciousness. The devil as a mirror of humanity. So what was the devil before the devil? He was chaos in the stormy seas of Mesopotamia, violence and disorder in the Egyptian desert, and opposition in the heavenly court of Job. He was a fallen angel, a trickster, a tester, and an accuser. He evolved through cultural exchanges, theological reflection, and human imagination. The devil is not a static entity, but a mirror of how societies understand evil, responsibility, and the struggle between light and dark. Before the devil became the horned ruler of hell, he was simply the embodiment of that which opposes, the necessary counterbalance to order and virtue. In that sense, the devil's origins tell us more about ourselves than about any supernatural being. He is a product of our stories, our fears, and our quest to understand why suffering, temptation, and injustice exist in a world created by or governed by the divine. Lucifer, the fallen angel. Among the many powerful and enigmatic figures in religious history, Lucifer stands out as a symbol of pride, rebellion, and tragic downfall. Often equated with the devil or Satan, Lucifer is popularly understood as a once glorious angel who defied God and was cast out of heaven. This dramatic story has captivated theologians, poets, and philosophers for centuries, offering a compelling narrative of ambition, disobedience, and cosmic justice. However, the story of Lucifer is more complex than many assume. The name Lucifer appears only once in the Bible, and not as the name of a devil or fallen angel. Over time, interpretations of various texts, particularly from Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Revelation, combined with theological speculation and literary imagination, gave rise to the myth of Lucifer as a rebellious angel. This essay will explore the origins, evolution, and cultural significance of Lucifer, tracing how a Latin term for morning star transformed into a powerful symbol of evil. 1. The origin of the name Lucifer. The name Lucifer comes from the Latin Lucifer, meaning light-bringer or morning star. It is a translation of the Hebrew term Hello Ben Shakar, which appears in Isaiah 14 verse 12. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations. Isaiah 14 verse 12, KJV. The original Hebrew was not referring to a fallen angel, but to a Babylonian king, likely Nebuchadnezzar II, being mocked in a taunt song. The imagery compares the king's downfall to the morning star Venus disappearing at dawn. When the Bible was translated into Latin by St. Jerome in the 4th century, the Vulgate, the word Lucifer was used for morning star. In other biblical versions, the same word is used for Jesus Christ. For instance, I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. Revelation 22, verse 16. Clearly, Lucifer was not originally a proper name for Satan. But over time, this verse in Isaiah became reinterpreted, especially by early Christian theologians, as referring to Satan's fall from grace. 2. The evolution of Lucifer as a fallen angel. While the name Lucifer was not originally Satan's, the concept of a heavenly being cast down for pride or rebellion has ancient roots. A. Isaiah 14 and its reinterpretation. The reinterpretation of Isaiah 14 verse 12 as referring to Satan began as early Christians tried to reconcile Old Testament passages with New Testament theology. They began to see in the Babylonian king's downfall a metaphor for Satan's fall. The pride and ambition of the king, I will ascend to the heavens. I will make myself like the Most High, mirrored the sin traditionally attributed to the devil. This shift laid the groundwork for the conflation of Lucifer with Satan, especially in the medieval period. B. Ezekiel 28, the lamentation over the king of Tyre. Another Old Testament passage, Ezekiel 28, was similarly reinterpreted. It speaks of a guardian cherub in Eden, full of beauty and perfection, who became corrupt. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Ezekiel 28 verse 15. Originally a prophecy against the king of Tyre, this passage was later understood allegorically. The king's hubris and subsequent fall were seen as symbolic of Satan's story, reinforcing the idea of a heavenly being's fall due to pride. 3. Theological construction. Lucifer in Christian doctrine. The story of Lucifer as a fallen angel gained traction through the writings of early church fathers and medieval theologians, who began to shape a more detailed theology of the devil. A. Church fathers and doctrinal development. Origen of Alexandria, 3rd century, and St. Augustine, 4th to 5th centuries, were among the earliest theologians to speculate about Lucifer as a once bright angel who became Satan. Origen posited that all rational souls were originally created equal, and that some, like Lucifer, freely chose rebellion. Augustine emphasized the theme of pride as the root of Lucifer's downfall. In his City of God, he writes, "It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels." This formulation became central to Christian teachings. Lucifer, created perfect, became Satan through the sin of pride, trying to exalt himself above God. B. The fall in heaven, Revelation and apocalyptic imagery. The New Testament book of Revelation contains imagery that fueled later ideas of Lucifer's fall. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. Revelation 12 verses 7 to 9. Though the dragon is called Satan, not Lucifer, this image of a celestial rebellion and expulsion from heaven dovetailed neatly with interpretations of Isaiah and Ezekiel. Eventually, theologians merged these ideas into a cohesive narrative. Lucifer, once an exalted angel, rebelled, became Satan, and was cast down by Michael the archangel. 4. Literary and cultural depictions of Lucifer. As Christian theology developed, literature and art began to flesh out Lucifer's story in more human, emotional, and symbolic terms. A. Dante's Inferno, 14th century. In Dante Alighieri's Inferno, Lucifer is frozen in the center of hell, a grotesque, weeping monster with 3 faces, chewing on the traitors Judas, Brutus, and Cassius. This Lucifer is both terrifying and tragic, a far cry from the proud, radiant being imagined in Isaiah. Dante's Lucifer is not an active tempter, but a powerless prisoner, defeated and immobilized. His fall is complete, and his misery eternal. B. John Milton's Paradise Lost, 17th century. Arguably, the most influential literary portrayal of Lucifer comes from John Milton's Paradise Lost. Milton's Lucifer is majestic, articulate, and tragic, a rebel who famously declares, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Milton's Satan is a romantic antihero, appealing to readers through his charisma, pride, and defiance. His fall is a result of personal ambition and wounded pride, which resonate on a deeply human level. This portrayal has led many to mistakenly associate Milton's Satan directly with Lucifer, even though Milton never uses the name. Milton's work cemented the popular image of Lucifer as the noble angel turned villain, influencing centuries of theology, literature, and even modern pop culture. 5. Lucifer in modern religious and esoteric thought. In more recent times, the figure of Lucifer has taken on diverse interpretations beyond traditional Christian teachings. A. Theosophy and occult movements. In the 19th and 20th centuries, esoteric traditions like Theosophy, founded by Helena Blavatsky, reimagined Lucifer as a symbol of enlightenment. Blavatsky referred to Lucifer as the bright star of early morning, the spirit of intellectual enlightenment and liberty. These reinterpretations presented Lucifer not as evil, but as a bearer of knowledge, akin to the Greek Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods. B. Satanism and pop culture. Some modern satanic or Luciferian movements, like the Church of Satan or the Temple of Set, use Lucifer as a symbol of individualism, rebellion, and self-determination. They do not worship him as a deity, but embrace his myth as a rejection of dogma. Meanwhile, in popular culture, Lucifer appears in comics, TV series, e.g., Lucifer on Netflix, and films as a suave, often sympathetic figure. These portrayals explore themes of redemption, freedom, and complexity, challenging the traditional view of absolute evil. 6. The symbolism of Lucifer, pride, freedom, and fall. Whether viewed as a villain or tragic hero, Lucifer functions as a powerful symbol in theology and culture. Pride. The primary sin attributed to Lucifer. Pride represents the danger of placing the self above divine order. Rebellion. Lucifer's fall underscores the cost of defiance against ultimate authority, divine or otherwise. Freedom and knowledge. In some interpretations, Lucifer becomes a symbol of intellectual or existential freedom, challenging blind obedience. These themes continue to resonate, especially in discussions of morality, authority, and the human condition. The enduring legacy of Lucifer. Lucifer's story is not a simple tale of good versus evil. It is a mythic narrative that has evolved across millennia, shaped by shifting religious, political, and cultural landscapes. From an ambiguous reference to a Babylonian king, to the embodiment of satanic pride, to a tragic antihero in literature, Lucifer has transformed in meaning and function. Ultimately, Lucifer reflects humanity's deepest questions. Why do we fall? What is the nature of evil? Can rebellion be noble? Or is it always corrupt? His story is a mirror, sometimes dark, sometimes illuminating, held up to the soul of civilization.